The elevator chimed at the top floor with a soft ding, the kind that made you feel like only a certain kind of person belonged there. When the doors opened, Leona Cruz stepped out, calm, composed, holding a leather-bound folder stamped with one gold word: Deed. The hallway ahead gleamed with frosted glass and steel plaques. Power echoed in the silence until it cracked. Brent, one of the managers, spotted her. His face shifted, confusion, then disbelief. "Ms. Cruz," he called, hurrying toward her. "I'm sorry, you're not supposed to be up here. This floor is restricted to senior personnel." Leona kept walking. Brent blocked her path. "Do you have an appointment?" She shifted the folder to her left hand, held it up, and said, "I don't need an appointment. I own the floor." Behind her, footsteps echoed. Heads turned. A woman from HR gasped. Two executives froze mid-conversation, watching the woman they once called the maintenance girl stride past in heels and calm. Brent stammered, I don't understand." "You will," Leona said, voice steady. She reached the double doors of the executive suite and pushed them open, mid-meeting. A board member started to object. "Excuse me, this is a private strat." Leona set the deed folder on the table. "Not anymore. This floor belongs to me." The room froze. "You bought it?" an executive asked, blinking. "You told me to stay in my lane," she said with a smile. "So I bought the road." And just like that, the hierarchy didn't collapse with shouting. It collapsed with paper. Legal. Signed. Permanent. Leona took a seat at the table's edge, not to serve water, but to change policy. And for the first time, everyone saw what real power looked like. Before she ever held a deed, Leona Cruz held doorstops, coffee trays, stacks of guest badges with cheap clip-on lanyards. Her title? Tenant Services Coordinator. Sounded official. In reality, she was the invisible thread stitching everyone else's importance together. She worked in the Atlas Building, a tower known for its skyline, not the people who kept it running. On paper, she scheduled bookings, troubleshot maintenance, helped tenants. In practice, she kept the place standing quietly, and they made sure she knew it. When she proposed automating HVAC tickets to cut downtime, a senior VP laughed and said, "Just tell the guys downstairs when something breaks. That's all we need from you." Another exec pointed at her during a mixer and joked, "She keeps the building happy," like she was a mascot, not a professional. But Leona watched. She noticed how decisions were made in whispers, how power clustered around vague titles and polished shoes. She saw who walked the halls with fear in their eyes, and who left messes for others to clean up, literally and figuratively. She didn't push back. She observed. She recorded. Polite on the outside, ruthless on the inside. She built a mental blueprint of the building, not just the floors, the politics, the patterns. One day, after fixing a smart panel error, she casually suggested a software change that could save $12,000 a year. The facilities manager blinked like she'd spoken a foreign language. "You've got a good head on your shoulders, Cruz," he said, "but executive strategy isn't your lane." Later, she flagged a billing overcharge. Accounting told her, "You're way too deep in the weeds. Let the higher-ups worry about budgets." So she stopped offering help, not because she didn't care, but because they didn't want solutions. They wanted silence. She used that silence. She studied building permits, zoning codes, tax filings. She learned the Atlas Building wasn't owned outright. It was split across 3 shell companies, 2 of them on the brink of liquidation. While coworkers posted memes, Leona enrolled in real estate finance courses, opened a business credit line, met with a title attorney. They called her not executive material. She called it leverage, because when someone says you don't belong at the table, what they really mean is they don't think you'll ever sit across from them. Leona didn't argue. She just started building her seat. It started in the break room. A leasing associate, mid-sip of a protein shake, muttered casually, "Apparently one of the owners is divesting, but it's hush-hush. Probably going to another investor." That one line hit Leona like a starter's pistol, because she already knew something most people didn't. The Atlas Building wasn't owned by one person. It was fractured, split floor by floor, each level owned through a web of shell companies and holding trusts. Most people assumed ownership was solid. It wasn't. It was patchwork. And one of those pieces was suddenly in play. That night, she stayed late. The hallways were dark. The building was empty. She logged into a back-end vendor portal, one she technically wasn't authorized to use. And there it was, a private listing, buried, flagged as confidential interest inquiry. Unit, floor 38. Status, available. Condition, must close within 90 days. She clicked through. Panoramic views. Private elevator. Multiple boardrooms. It was one of the most coveted executive spaces in the entire tower. The asking price? High, but not unreachable. Not if you knew how to structure a deal. Not if you've been studying leverage. She printed every page, tucked them into a binder labeled HVAC compliance. Then she made a call. Weeks earlier, she'd helped an elderly tenant resolve a messy billing dispute. That man? Mr. Renner, semi-retired investor. She explained what she found. He didn't laugh. He said, "Bring me the numbers. If you're serious, I'll back 20%. Her hands shook when she hung up, not from nerves, from validation. This wasn't just a pipe dream anymore. It was a possibility. She spent the next week dissecting deed history, mapping title transfers, and tracing shell corporations. She found the last time floor 38 sold. It was during a market crash, severely undervalued. Now, its value had doubled, but no one noticed, because no one looked. That ignorance was her opportunity. She filed a new LLC using her middle name, opened a community-backed loan application, contacted the title attorney she'd been quietly emailing for months. No one knew what she was doing. They still thought she was stocking mini fridges and arranging lunch deliveries. But in reality, she wasn't maintaining the building anymore. She was preparing to buy it, one floor at a time. Leona said nothing. She still delivered coffee orders, refilled printer paper, smiled through condescending jokes. But under the surface, she was running two lives. In one, she was the building's tenant coordinator. In the other, she was its future landlord. Every moment carried double meaning. When she adjusted thermostats, she was also calculating long-term energy costs. When she repaired a sink, she was mentally logging vendor quality for future renegotiations. And when Brent said, "Smile more, stress less," she smiled, not from politeness, but because he had no idea she was already holding the deed. She cut expenses to the bone. No takeout. Sold her old laptop. Every dollar was capital. Every spare hour spent on escrow paperwork, title research, and zoning permits. While her coworkers prepared presentation decks for next quarter's client meetings, Leona was sending encrypted files to a title office. While they joked on Slack, she was finalizing loan terms with her community lender. No one noticed, because no one ever really looked at her. The final approval came on a Tuesday morning, 7:42 a.m. By 8:06, the ink had dried. Everything was signed. She didn't post about it, didn't celebrate. She clocked in for work like usual. That same afternoon, Brent asked her to restock the executive lounge. She did, using the keycard access granted to floor 38's new owner. They still thought she was just support, but she was holding the lease. 3 days later, her title packet arrived in the mail. Thick envelope, gold seal. She slipped it into a matte black folder. One word embossed on the front, deed. Then she waited, because she didn't need applause. She needed timing. That same week, she quietly updated her HR file. New mailing address. Her LLC's executive suite, located on floor 38. The system flagged it. No one followed up. They never read past her title. A coworker overheard her discussing property insurance. "Are you switching jobs?" they asked. She smiled. Not exactly. Meanwhile, Brent was organizing a networking event on floor 38. The invite never reached her, but she didn't need it. She had the keys, the contracts, and the power to unlock the one door they never expected her to touch. She wasn't going to ask to be let in. She was going to open it herself. Leona didn't dress to impress. She dressed to be undeniable. A tailored tan blazer, matte black slacks, no jewelry, no extra flair, just one thing in her hand, a leather folder stamped with a single gold word, deed. She took the main elevator, not the service one. Badge access cleared without a blink. The security guard glanced up, confused but silent. When the doors opened onto floor 38, the air changed. Brent looked up from his desk. His eyes narrowed. "MS. Cruz?" he stammered. "I don't think you're supposed to." "I am," she said. She handed him the folder. He opened it. "Read the cover, then scan the first page." Twice. His face drained of color. "Is this a joke?" he asked. "Where did you even—" Behind him, the HR director stood up sharply. "This floor is executive restricted," she snapped. Leona turned slowly. "As of 7:42 a.m. last Tuesday," she said. "That policy expired." The director froze. "We were notified." "You were." She tapped her phone. "Email to your assistant." Subject: Ownership transfer, floor 38. The director's eyes widened. "That was you." Leona didn't flinch. "It still is." More people were gathering now. Senior managers, HR, even the facilities director. One executive crossed his arms. "The floor might be yours," he said, "but that doesn't make you our boss." "No," Leona replied calmly, "but it does make me your landlord." The words hit like a dropped file cabinet. She walked past them, heels steady, straight into the glass-walled boardroom. Inside, executives paused mid-conversation. She set the printed title on the table. "As primary title holder of floor 38, she said, "I'll be updating lease agreements and revising shared use policies." Someone scoffed from the far end. "We're in the middle of a client review." "Then I suggest," she said evenly, "you get your paperwork in order." Legal showed up in the doorway, tablet in hand, whispering, eyes wide. One by one, the realization spread. This wasn't a stunt. This wasn't temporary. This was ownership. Signed. Certified. Permanent. She wasn't intruding. She was returning to a floor that used to shut her out, and now answered to her. The fallout didn't explode. It recalibrated. Within 24 hours. Emails behind firewalls. Meeting titles changed to strategic adjustment. Whisper networks scrambled for new scripts. The woman they once called the building girl, she now legally owned the floor housing half their executive offices. And she wasn't bluffing. She wasn't posturing. She was implementing. Her first move wasn't a headline. No press release. No dramatic announcement. Just a folding table. In the common area, they once banned her from cleaning during meetings. One pot of coffee. A stack of policy folders. And 3 quiet words. Policy updates begin. Change 1. No more badge-based elevator restrictions. Every employee, from interns to janitors, could access shared floor spaces. Change 2. Mandatory inclusion of facility staff in all emergency drills, plus hazard pay reviews for every maintenance contractor. Change 3. A 10% rent diversion fund, dedicated to mentorships, certifications, and career development for support staff. No vote. No committee, just enforcement, clause by clause, contract by contract. Brent quit by the end of the week. Philosophical differences, he said in his exit email. Translation: he couldn't stomach the reversal. The HVAC-mocking VP tried to schedule a meeting to reconnect. She declined with one line. "I'm fully booked this quarter." A few pushed back, filed formal complaints. But corporate's hands were tied. The D gave her full floor governance within city policy, and Leona had filed everything. Notices, clauses, compliance timestamps, down to the zoning map overlay. No loopholes, no exit routes. She replaced the frosted glass sign on the executive lounge with a brushed metal plaque. Common grounds, open to all staff. Ergonomic chairs replaced broken crates. Intern booths were finally soundproofed. Quiet changes, but loud in meaning. The building shifted, not just physically, but morally. The shock wasn't that she owned it. It was that she didn't weaponize her ownership. She didn't gatekeep. She opened gates. At the entrance of the floor, a sleek silver panel was mounted. Isabel Cruz. "If they won't make space for you by the room." Her grandmother's words, now etched in steel. By month's end, Leona submitted paperwork to acquire another 11% of the building. 2 partial owners accepted. And just like that, she stopped being the exception. She became the standard. The name they once dismissed was now etched into the infrastructure. Weeks passed. The shock faded, but the shift stayed. The building's rhythm slowed where it once raced. Hallways that once echoed with condescension now carried nods, quiet greetings, a hush of respect that couldn't be faked. Leona wasn't just acknowledged. She was written in, not with fanfare, but with policy. She was built into the system, in access logs, in lease amendments, in Slack threads titled Ask Leona. She never raised her voice, never demanded recognition. She just kept showing up, prepared, focused, grounded. No heels walked those marble corridors with more authority. No eyes read those spreadsheets more carefully. She shook hands with interns. She held the elevator for janitors. She responded to every question, not with tone, but with clarity. One night, long after most lights had dimmed, Leona stepped into the elevator alone. Halfway down, the doors opened. A young woman rushed in, arms full of supply boxes, eyes tired, posture tight. Leona held the door. The woman nodded, muttering, "Sorry. Third, right up. They said I act like I run the place. Just cause I suggested a better rotation system." Leona didn't correct her. She didn't reassure. She simply reached into her blazer and pulled out a card. Office of the owner, development track. Below that, Leona Cruz. No title, just presence. "Come by Monday," Leona said. "We'll talk." The woman looked down at the card like it might catch fire. "Why?" she whispered. Leona smiled, the kind of smile that doesn't need to ask permission. "Because no one helped me," she said. And that ends here. The elevator dropped floor by floor, but it felt like ascension. The following Monday, a new lobby directory was installed. Sleek, backlit, permanent, under ownership and property management. The top line read, Cruz Equity Holdings. No backstory, no subtitle, no explanation, because the same people who once told her she didn't belong now walked through walls she owned,